Well, welcome back to Cyber Budo, and thank you very much for joining me. Really appreciate those of you who've been watching, liking, subscribing. Means the world to me. I want to make more content, and I want to make content that's better. And in order to do that, I need to spend more time. So I look forward to doing that. But any support that you guys, girls, whatever out there can give would really be appreciated. Would really help the channel a lot. And let's jump into today's topic. So what I'm talking about today is based on a Reddit post that says, what do you think the demand for cybersecurity professionals will be going into the 2030s? Now, this is an important topic that this individual has raised 2 months ago because it's a big commitment going to university, and I've talked about that in a previous video. It's a big commitment financially for all the different certifications that you can do in cybersecurity, and it's just not the easiest career path to transition into. There are definitely skills and trades that are a lot easier to acquire the ability to do the job. But remember that where something is easier to do or takes less investment and less time, there's generally more competition. Now, that being said, cybersecurity is competitive, but it is a skill that takes many years to build to a point where you're a highly respected professional who's acquired a very strong foundation in the industry. So it is a commitment. That's the first thing I want to say. And this is a good question. So let's jump in. Let's read what this guy has to say. Now, this looks like it's based out of Europe. Now, I'm not fully aware of the rules and regulations in Europe, how it works. I'm coming from Australia and how it works with Australia. And I know Australia sort of is similar to the UK when it comes to certain things, but yeah, don't quote me on that. So he says, hey guys, I'm in France. Nobody hires here with just certificates, so I'll have to do a 3 years master degree to hope to get a job. I'm already old as F. I am 24, laugh my ass off. I can only start the college course in September of next year, so I'll be 25 when the course starts and 28 when I enter the job market. So I don't want to waste my years away to find myself in a shitty job market in 4 years' time. Do you think I should continue pursuing cybersecurity, or should I just look elsewhere for work? Plumbing seems fun, I guess. So let's unpack this a little bit. First of all, dude, 24 years old, that's young. That's like a little spring chicken. I did not transfer into cybersecurity until my early 30s. Now, I'm giving my age away here. I know I look good. I try to moisturize and shave, keep myself clean. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm old. I'm way older. And I know exactly the thought that this person here, assuming it's a guy, I don't know, is expressing. I know exactly that feeling. It is not uncommon. It is a feeling that every person, no matter what their age is in life, goes through. Especially when it comes to changing careers. And this is why many people don't change their career and they stay in the same field, only to either get fired, to get replaced, for that field to become redundant, or to end up growing into old age very bitter and disappointed with yourself because you did not take the risk that you should have taken. So that's the point that I want to make. So let's make that first point really clear. This is not too old, and there are people who have gone and done their degrees in their 70s and 80s. You hear stories like that. So yeah, just if you feel like you need to shift and change, just do it. Do the study. That's really important, okay? Don't buy into society's model of you need to be successful or you need to have it all figured out. Society pushes a lot of bullshit into people's heads to fit a mold because I'm not going to go deep into all that kind of stuff, but there's an agenda in the world. The government wants you to do a certain thing because it makes the world that they want function. You don't have to comply to that model. I believe in morals and obeying the law and all that type of thing, but you don't have to play the game of, getting a property and, at your 30s and have a family in your 30s. If you want to stay single, if you want to wait longer, if you want to like play around and go out there and try and create something or do something, I just think do it. I made this change because I spent most of my life not thinking I could do anything else but work with my hands, clean stuff. I had no belief in myself. I had never challenged myself mentally, and that's why I went into cybersecurity initially, is I wanted that initial challenge, and I ended up liking it, and I ended up enjoying it, and now building a career out of it. So yeah, don't let just money and that stuff like hold you back. The other good point here is pursuing cybersecurity. So I don't know exactly what degree this individual is thinking about pursuing, but I'm guessing from the way this comment's written, it's likely they're just talking about a cybersecurity degree, and that is a good point. Will that degree have any value in the 2030s? And look, for most people, the degree will be the entry ticket to many companies or jobs to get you in the door. It's the continuous, like you looking at this. I'll give you a bit of a different way to look at this, okay? It gets you in the door, but it's the job itself and the learning on the job where the real growth and progress really starts. You'll adapt and grow on the job, and if you think this is a career where you can just do a degree and then rock up and everything, well, you're going to be in for a bit of a difficult time. This is just a foundation. It's just the start, giving you the foundations of things that you'll need to know at a foundational level, but your real career will begin when you start working. Okay, so it's an expensive bit of paper that gets you in the door. Now, I don't know the regulations in the EU. They obviously maybe require that you have a degree in France and things like that. Australia doesn't make that a mandatory requirement, but some companies will make that a requirement because of maybe compliance, or they just want to have that baseline. I'm pro certification. I don't like people coming to this country and not having qualifications or certifications, to work in an industry, because we have a framework here, and I like that. Now, that framework doesn't mean that person is like an absolute expert in the field. It just means they've got a foundation, and I like that about university and TAFE and training. I think it's important, and you'll be able to build off that. However, this field is developing rapidly. It's moving very quick, and it's hard to say that the skills that you learn from the university degree are going to be super relevant, at that time. No one can say exactly what the 2030s are going to look like. I have no idea. What I will say and can say is that if you're interested in this field and you relate to this person's comment here, no matter what your age is, then my advice is just go for it. And we'll get more into that soon. But let's check out now what some of the comments are. And then we can elaborate a little bit further based on that. So one person here says, personally, since you're in Europe like I am, I don't think it'll go away anytime soon. Also, why 3 years masters? Either way, here is why. AI is a bit of a bubble. Unless we do another LLM level revolution, I don't see LLMs taking jobs anytime soon. There is a lot of fluff around AI these days. Then he's talking about some local and EU level cybersec regulations based in Europe. Not familiar with those, obviously European ones, force a lot of companies to take cybersecurity seriously. Also keep in mind, cybersecurity is security, meaning it's a state level push, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. So this person's given a very good response, right? he's kind of hit the nail on the head to why what a lot of people are concerned about. Let's be real, it's AI. Everyone's a bit nervous about AI. I was nervous about it, when the company I'm with started pushing more towards the LLM direction and automation direction. I'm like, where does that put me? And this person's right. Unless we see another big burst or a bubble, which is possible, anything's possible. You got quantum computing. When we see the next big evolution in tech, then it might be a little bit more concerning. But as for now, the industry does need people. It needs security professionals, because state-sponsored threat actors, cyber criminals, they're not slowing down. They are using all the tools at their disposal and more to profit, and that is just being ramped up to a level that we've never seen before. Companies need to be ready for that. They need to use automation and LLMs for that, but they need people. They need good professionals to speak to clients, to do human assessments and vulnerabilities. Yeah, a lot of things will be automated in the future, I would say, but that automation will be more to keep pace, more than just like replacing everyone. If you can set yourself up as indispensable as a professional in your industry, like a consultant, someone with deeper security knowledge, then you're going to be in a good place. So I definitely understand this fear. And I would say if you're someone who's doing a very low level, entry level job in tech, then there will be some threats to those jobs or some changes to those jobs. So my advice to counteract that is to just stay ahead of the curve. Learn about these changes from a security perspective, so you know about them, so you're more competitive as a security professional, right? You think all these AI agents and all these LLM models and automation that companies are building, you think it's not going to create vulnerabilities or problems? It's going to 100%. It's like the push for cloud. When cloud came out, it was awesome, but people have rushed into deploying cloud to their environment, but haven't focused on securing the cloud environment. It's hard to secure the cloud environment. Needs to be monitored, because there are things that can happen that might appear legitimate, but they're not. And that's where having a security professional and a monitoring team come into place. LLMs are the same. They're creating so many more problems now. People pouring data, company data into them, extensions, that web-based extensions that are exfiltrating chat GPT and AI information that people are copying. Huge thing. There's governance, right? Understanding what should and shouldn't be going in AI. There's prompt injection. There's people researching now whole new tactics and procedures based around just AI. So it's going to open up a field in itself. Government regulation is not slowing down. Governments are getting more and more vicious when it comes to fining companies for lack of compliance for data leaks. So even smaller businesses now are more accountable for how they store their customer data. That this is got to be taken more seriously. That's going to create the need for cybersecurity professionals. Here's a good comment by Death Struggle. You've got plenty of time. I started working a help desk position at 30 in 2020. Graduated with a degree at 33 and scored a GRC gig out of the gate. I spent 2 years in that position and just recently got hired by a SOC as an analyst. The cybersecurity job market may seem flooded right now, but businesses even in the 2030s will more than likely need folks to fine-tune security tools, triage alerts, respond to incidents, and ensure organizations are adhering to data privacy standards in accordance with state and federal regulations. There's always work to be done in this dynamic field. 100%. There's a component of it that people forget. Security. We obsess about technology, but it's security, right? A person sends an email to their personal email that you've never seen before. Do you think that's okay? As a security professional, you might not know, but if you're doing this for a company, it might be your job to investigate and raise it. It's not about dobbing that person in. It's about protecting data, right? Is that person sending something to a personal email that is confidential? is it information that belongs to someone else that they are exfiltrating out to a personal account, insider risk? Or is that account compromised, right? Which would be another set of problems that you would have. But that's where human monitoring comes into place. So, you know, that's the other side of it, right? Like, it's the human side of it. Humans are more accountable, or have to be accountable. And yeah, it's just going to need that human oversight, that context. What else do we have? Cybersecurity, Master Smoker, cybersecurity isn't going away. Oh wait, first of all he says, you are not old, I'm 42 and going for my degree. So there you go, 42. Cybersecurity isn't going away. The demand for good cyber professionals will be there. What that means is learning and practicing more than what you'll get from uni. You must do more than your peers to stand out. Most cyber students just think they'll land a job because they have a degree. You need to showcase your skills in real-world environments, home lab, blue team competitions, red team competitions. Showing a drive for wanting to be in this field and will set you apart from everyone else. Mastered my last field, but injuries led me to seek a different career. I've been home labbing for 5 years prior to going back to school, and I am already far ahead of most four-year university students in my second year. It's not going away, but to be considered for a job, you have to stand out and do more than just school. Again, Master Smoker's 100% right. 100% right. I completely agree with that comment wholeheartedly. The university, no offense, it doesn't really mean shit anymore. You know, there was a time when university was kind of a thing of prestige and that only the wealthy and the highly educated could go. Now university is opened up to everyone, which is a beautiful thing. I think people should be educated and have the opportunity to get educated. I think that's great. You know, that doesn't mean everyone who gets educated is cut out for a certain field. That is something that I think that's a tough pill for some people to swallow, but I think it's true. Like, I'll probably never cut it as a brain surgeon. I just don't have the, I probably wouldn't have the emotional fortitude to be able to like deal with a job with that much pressure, having so much at stake. And I'm at peace with that. It's fine. This job can be stressful too, but I learned to manage it. You've got to stand out. You know, you can't just be this ordinary, I've finished my degree. You know, standing out is like, and I've talked about this so many times in my other videos, and that is project work, right? Project work. Like, have you done something? Have you made a blog? Have you got a home lab? Home lab is one of the most powerful things that you can present to a person in a job interview. It's like, I've set up a virtual environment. I've set up an AD server and I've attacked it, and I've run pen test against a Windows machine. I've set up a SIEM on one of my VMs, and then I've had logs ingest and feed into it from another computer, right? Like, that is, if you can take the time to build something like that, that's awesome, right? And that'll show them that you're interested, really, because it does, it doesn't take forever. It's actually, you can do it pretty quick, but it just shows you're interested, and it's a hands-on project skill that you've done yourself. You haven't just clicked on a website like Hack the Box, which is Hack the Box, which is a really good website and very good for learning to pen test, but but you've done something yourself, which is really cool. So yeah, do something to stand out. If you're going to go do your degree, make sure you're standing out and you're going the extra level. I've got my own side projects and I've got extra things that I'm learning about, because you got to, if you want to be competitive, you got to have your hand on the pulse to what's going on. You've got to be reading cybersecurity articles almost every day. I mean, yeah, you can take sometimes you just got to take a day off and let your brain just revive, but most of the days throughout the week, you should be consuming cybersecurity articles and research and content, and get an idea of what's going on around you, so you can present that you're aware. And then we got a final comment here. It says, I'd say the demand will still be very real in the 2030s, not gone. The global talent gap in cybersecurity is still huge. Attacks are getting more complex, not simpler, and regulations in Europe are only tightening. that all points in one direction. More need for people who actually understand security, not less. It's not 28 is not too old to enter the field. A ton of people move into cybersecurity in their late 20s or 30s, especially in Europe where degrees are valued. By the time you graduate, there will be still cloud, identity, AI, governance, incident response, and human risk problems that need real humans to solve them. If you genuinely like cybersecurity, I wouldn't walk away just because you're worried about the future market. Plumbing is also a solid career, but don't choose it out of fear. And again, these comments are really awesome considering that Reddit can be a fairly toxic community. This is actually a really nice thread of very, very good feedback. Again, Mary here is spot on, and I agree with all of this as well. New fields and opportunities are going to open up. New jobs are going to open up. And you're going to always need people to check on this stuff. You can't just hand the keys over to a machine. Like I don't see in what world where that happens that would be a good thing. Like, it's still a machine, no matter how good it gets. It's still governed by chips and technology that any connected technology is vulnerable. Like, that's one of the 101s of cybersecurity that you learn, is that anything connected is vulnerable. Don't care what it is. If it's connected, it can be exploited or exposed in some way, if not externally, internally. So, yeah, there you have it. If you're thinking this, if you're scared about, will I have a career in the 2030s? Is it worth pursuing? There you go. Go look around online. You'll see a lot of people out there agree that there will always be a need and a place for cybersecurity professionals. However, the field is shifting, and I think it's important to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. I think the days of low-level task L1, just clicking through endless benign positive alerts, that's probably on the way out at some point, but I think there'll always be a need for solid professionals, consultants, offensive security professionals, because threat actors are just constantly innovating, and they're constantly finding new ways to exploit, to carry out their campaigns. And as defensive analysts or people in security, we got to constantly be proactively monitoring and on top of that. So that's never going to go away as long as there's technology and the ability for people to make money. Now, on the final point about plumbing is a solid career, but don't choose it out of fear, I will say this to my younger people out there who might be watching. Don't be afraid of having a second skill. Like, if you haven't really figured out exactly what your passion is in life, that's okay. Don't buy into this like you've got to have it all absolutely figured out. People like that are rare individuals, and of course they have a higher chance of getting successful. But if you're someone who's a little bit like, what do I do with my life? I relate. And I say, don't be afraid to have a second skill. I mean, what's wrong with being a plumber? When I first started studying cybersecurity, the way that I afforded to go back to school to pay my rent and support my life was I cleaned windows. And to be honest, people, when I told them that, had a very weird reaction, especially in academia. There was a lot of strange looks when I told people that. They didn't respect it. They didn't like the idea of it, just seemed beneath them. But let me tell you something. I've made more money in 1 or 2 days of cleaning windows than I've made, doing a full week in cybersecurity. I do cyber because I like it, and one day, as I get better, I want to get paid more. But in the beginning, you might not make the money you think you're going to make. You got to do it and learn and grow. And then that's how you build a career or your own business out of it. But that's what I did. And there are people out there who have come from trades and hands-on skills, and don't, I think this will be my final takeaway. Don't look down on those people or look down as that being a beneath you skill. Because what if we had to go back to working with our hands? What if this all blew up and there was no more cybersecurity? Most people would be fucked because they've got no idea of how to function in the real world. That's a scary thought. Some people have only ever done computers. My philosophy is you've got to have one foot in tech and you've got to have one foot in the ways of old, the traditions, the old ways. You know, you got to look at a little bit of both, because, you know, we're only a massive grid failure, you know, internet getting completely destroyed kind of event away from all this disappearing, and then we're thrown back into the dark ages overnight. So just keep that in your mind as well, because there are people out there that they tend to look down on these trades and these professions, but some of these trades and professions make tons of money. Like you can't get much more like essential than a plumber, you know, or electrician, right? Like I was a butcher, and people have got to eat too. So trades are 100% essential. Don't knock that. And I know that's got nothing to do with cybersecurity, but I just thought I'd add that extra point there as well. So hope you appreciate the video. Thank you so much. Please drop me a comment, drop me a thumbs up, subscribe if you like this channel, if you want to continue to see videos that I put out. As for now, yeah, all the best. Don't let the fear of change hold you back from trying, because if you don't make any changes now, that paralysis, that fear will hold you back, and it'll just become a regret later in life. And the reality is, if things change and it doesn't work out, at least you've done something, at least you've learnt something. All right, so that's all I want to say. Take it easy. Hope you have a great year, and we'll see you in the next one.